Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, look, we're doing something really important for anyone who needs English, professionally or personally. We're diving deep top to bottom into achieving real, actual English fluency.
Right.
And I mean, not just passing some tests, right?
Right.
We're talking about that level where you can think on your feet, you sound natural, you can get complex ideas across without that pause, without translating in your head. The material we're drawing on today is really quite special. It lays out this powerful framework. Think of it like maybe 10 core principles all linked together.
Yeah, interconnected.
Exactly. And they're designed to completely change how you approach learning English, moving way beyond just like memorizing lists of words.
Which we all know doesn't quite get you there.
Right. So this is more like a full roadmap. It hits the psychology and the mechanics together. So our mission, really, for you listening, is to take these key ideas, these habits, and boil them down into something, actionable, a solid guide. We want to help trigger those aha moments, the ones that shift you from slowly figuring things out to just knowing, applying it fast, automatically.
The application, yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's really get into what makes genuine fluency actually happen.
Yeah, and that's exactly what makes this approach so effective. It's not just treating symptoms like, oh, I need more words or my grammar's weak.
Right.
It looks at the whole learning system.
Yeah.
These 10 pathways, they really zero in on the how and the why of learning well. And that's vital because they tackle head-on the two big problems that just trip up almost everyone.
Okay, what are those?
Well, first, that feeling of just being completely swamped, overwhelmed by how much there is to learn.
Yeah, definitely felt that. And second, that really frustrating habit, the one that kills your speed.
Yeah.
Translating everything inside your head from your own language. The internal translation trap.
Yeah. Exactly. So if we can give you real techniques to deal with those two things, the overwhelm and the translation, then fluency doesn't just speed up. It kind of becomes, almost inevitable.
Okay, so let's start with the technical foundation. And this is interesting because it seems like this is where a lot of learners maybe misplace their focus initially.
That's a very common pattern, yes. The first core idea is all about pronunciation and accent clarity. And the material makes a really key distinction here. The goal isn't perfection. It's not about sounding like a perfect native speaker. It's about speaking clearly, just making sure people understand you easily.
And that distinction right there is incredibly freeing for a learner, isn't it?
Yeah, it takes the pressure off.
Totally. Perfection. That's impossible, really. And trying for it is just demotivating.
Yeah.
But clarity, that's achievable. So many learners get hyper-focused on tiny sounds like, oh, did I say that sound right? Or was my vowel slightly off? And they get really anxious about it.
Yeah, but honestly, native listeners, we're incredibly good at understanding, even with minor sound variations, if the speaker keeps the overall flow going.
Okay, so if we're not meant to obsess over every single vowel, where should the focus be? The sources get specific. They talk about practicing stress, rhythm, and intonation.
The prosody.
Right. So let's dig into that. Why are those things, stress, rhythm, that sort of musical quality of English, why are they so much more important for being understood than getting every tiny sound perfect?
Okay, this gets right to how English actually works when you hear it. Yeah. English is what linguists call a stressed-timed language.
Stress-timed, okay.
Yeah, which is different from many other languages that might be syllable-timed. What it means is we don't give equal time to every syllable, not at all. We stretch out the important words, usually nouns, main verbs, adjectives, adverbs. Those get the stress, the time.
The content words.
Exactly, the content words. And the other ones, the little grammar words like a, they do, is, we squash them, we say them really fast, sometimes they almost disappear. Right. And these features, the stress, the rhythm, the intonation, the melody, they carry a huge amount of the meaning and the speaker's intention. They signal instantly what's the most important bit in the sentence. Think about, she went to the store. Simple sentence.
Okay.
If I say, she went to the store, I'm probably correcting you, maybe you thought he went.
Right. Emphasis on who.
Yeah. But if I say, she went to the store, now I'm emphasizing the destination. Maybe you thought she went to the park.
The meaning totally changes just based on where the beat falls, not the words themselves.
Precisely. Put the stress on the wrong word, and you don't just change the focus, you can actually break the listener's understanding. Their brain expects the stress word to be the key info, and if the rhythm is all wrong, or if you stress every single word equally, which happens a lot if your native language is syllable timed, the listener has to work so much harder just to figure out what you mean.
That sounds exhausting for the listener. a huge cognitive load.
It really is. So yeah, clarity really comes from getting that flow, that music right, much more than nailing every single note, as you put it.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. And that idea of flow leads us right into the next technical piece, doesn't it? Connected speech.
The glue.
Yeah, the glue. This is apparently the secret sauce, the thing that makes speech sound fast and, well, natural, fluid.
It's absolutely crucial for sounding natural.
So connected speech is basically about how native speakers kind of smush words together, right? Blurring the lines between them naturally.
That's a good way to put it. Smushing, linking, blending. When we speak at a normal pace, the sounds at the end of one word influence the sounds at the beginning of the next. They merge.
And it's not just want to becoming wanna or going to becoming gonna.
Yeah.
It's more complex.
Oh yeah, much more. There are consistent patterns, sort of rules about how sounds change when they bump up against each other.
Okay, the sources mention, I think, 3 main ways this happened. Can you break those down for us? Things like elision, assimilation, and linking sounds. And crucially, how practicing saying these things helps your listening too, not just your speaking speed.
Absolutely. Let's get into the mechanics, because this is often a blind spot for learners. Connected speech is exactly why learners sometimes complain that native speakers just sound like they're mumbling.
Yeah, I've heard that.
They're listening for neat little pauses between each word, like in writing, but we just don't talk that way. So first up, elision. That's basically dropping a sound, deleting it. A super common one is dropping T or id sounds, especially when they're between consonants.
Okay, like give me an example.
Think of next door. Said quickly, that T in next often vanishes. Sounds like next door.
Next door, right?
Or fish and chips becomes fish and chips. The did sound disappears. If you're not expecting that sound to be dropped, you can completely miss the word when someone's talking fast.
Okay, so that's elision dropping sounds. What's next?
Second is assimilation. This is when a sound actually changes to become more like the sound next to it. It just makes the transition smoother for your mouth.
Ah, okay. Example.
A classic one involves the N sound. Take the phrase in balance. Often, that N sound will shift towards an M sound, like imbalance.
Well,
Because M is made with your lips together, just like the B sound that follows it in balance. So your mouth is already getting ready for the B. It's a tiny change, but these little shifts happen constantly.
wow, okay. Subtle. And the third one.
And third, linking. This is where we add a little sound to bridge the gap between words, usually when one word ends in a vowel sound and the next one starts with a vowel sound. We often slip in a little W or Y sound, like go out. Spoken quickly, it often sounds like go out. There's a little W linking them. Or I am can sound like I am.
Go out. I am. Okay, I hear that now you pointed out.
Yeah, and the key thing is, when you practice making these connections yourself, eliding, assimilating, linking, you force your brain to recognize them when you're listening. You're actively training your ear to expect words to flow together, not be separate blocks.
That's a really powerful point. So practicing speaking this way directly improves your listening comprehension. It's not just about sounding more native.
Absolutely. It's fundamentally about making your listening more efficient. Mastering connected speech is like the essential bridge. It takes you from reading words nice and separate on a page.
Yeah, where the boundaries are obvious,
Yeah.
to actually understanding spoken language as it really is, a continuous stream, at speed. Without training your ear for connected speech, that gap between how well you read and how well you listen stays huge. And that's where so much frustration comes from for learners. You start hearing the music, the flow, not just individual words with gaps. Okay, so we've got the sound sorted, the flow. Now we need to talk about the actual content, right? Building the knowledge base, but in a way that you can actually use it when you need it.
Exactly. The usable knowledge.
Which brings us to vocabulary range. And the key insight here from the material is, you need a wide vocabulary, obviously, but not just for general, everyday stuff.
Right, not just the basics.
You also need it for specific situations that matter to you. So like specialized words for your job, or your hobbies, or whatever you talk about most.
That's a common mistake learners make. They focus maybe on the top 2,000 most frequent words and think, okay, that's fluency, but it's not.
Why not?
Because real conversations aren't just general. If you work in IT, you need to talk about servers and code. If you love cooking, you need words for ingredients and techniques. General words might give you, say, 50% of what you need, but that specialized vocabulary, that's the other crucial 50% that lets you talk about your actual life and thoughts. Okay, so breadth and depth in relevant areas, got it. And this links to probably the biggest change in how to learn vocab that the sources push for, Learn phrases, not just single words. Yes, this is huge.
We've all been there, right? Trying to build a sentence word by painful word, searching for the right preposition.
Stuttering, pausing, yeah.
So let's really unpack this. Why is learning something like, I'm looking forward to meeting you, as one whole chunk, why is that so much better than just learning look forward to and meet separately?
Okay, think of it like this. Single words are like individual Lego bricks. Phrases are like pre-built Lego sections. Okay, I like that analogy.
If you only have single bricks, every time you want to build something, say a sentence, you have to find the right brick, the word, figure out how it connects grammatically to the next brick, the right preposition, the right ending, make sure it fits the overall structure, tense, agreement. It's a slow, complex assembly process happening in real time. It takes a ton of mental energy.
Yeah, cognitive load again.
Exactly. But phrases, or what linguists call lexical chunks, they bypass most of that assembly. I'm looking forward to. That's a ready-made unit. 5 words, already perfectly connected, grammatically correct, idiomatically natural.
Prepackaged.
Prepackaged. Your brain just grabs the whole chunk. It doesn't have to figure out the ing form, the specific preposition to. Just truly here. It's all done, which makes speaking much faster, presumably.
Like significantly faster retrieval, yeah. And there are different kinds of these chunks we should be looking out for. Things like collocations, words that just sound right together, like heavy rain, not strong rain.
Right.
Fixed expressions like by the way, or on the other hand, semi-fixed ones like that looking forward to example where you can change the end bit, and phrasal verbs like put up with or look into. Focusing your learning on spotting and using these chunks directly tackles that core fluency problem. Knowing words, but not being able to string them together quickly and naturally in conversation. It's like installing shortcuts on your brain's operating system.
No.
Okay, installing shortcuts, love it. All right, next, cognitive shift. Grammar in use. The sources stress that the goal isn't just knowing grammar rules academically, not just acing the test.
Right. It's understanding grammar so well that you use it automatically, without thinking, when you're speaking or writing.
And that difference is absolutely critical. It's the shift from what we call declarative knowledge, just knowing that a rule exists, to procedural knowledge, being able to use the rule without conscious thought.
Okay.
You see lots of advanced learners who can explain complex grammar perfectly on paper, but then you ask them a quick question in conversation and they freeze up or just use really simple sentences. Why? Because those complex rules haven't become automatic yet. They're still in the thinking part of the brain, not the doing part.
Okay, but hang on. If you focus too much on just using grammar automatically, quickly, isn't there a risk of what they call fossilization? Like you lock in mistakes because you're prioritizing speed over getting it right?
Yeah.
How do you balance that automaticity with accuracy?
That's a really important question. And yes, fossilization is a real risk. If you automate an error, it becomes incredibly difficult to fix later.
So what's the solution?
The key is that the automaticity has to be built on a correct foundation first. And the type of practice matters hugely. It's not just about talking a lot. You need focused, repetitive practice drills. Exercises designed to make you choose and use the correct structure quickly, maybe under a little bit of time pressure, but crucially in a safe space where mistakes don't matter much.
Like what kind of drills?
Maybe you drill responding to 10 different situations using, say, the past perfect continuous. What had you been doing before the meeting started? I had been finishing the report over and over with different variations until producing had been doing feels completely natural, effortless.
So targeted repetition.
Yes. The goal of automaticity is to move grammar out of that slow, analytical part of your brain. If you're talking and you have to pause and mentally review, okay, wait, third conditional. If plus past perfect, what if plus past participle? Boom, fluency is gone.
Yeah, you lost the flow.
Completely. The practice has to push these rules into the subconscious, the procedural memory, so they just fire off instantly, like when you're driving a car and you just change gear without thinking about the mechanics. And the key to avoiding fossilizing errors during this is active self-correction, or getting feedback during those structured drills.
Okay, so it's like training the grammar muscle memory. Making the right tense just pop out.
That's a great way to think about it, yeah. And this drive for automaticity, for getting the brain to just do English without analyzing, it leads perfectly into maybe the biggest cognitive leap required.
Yeah.
Getting over the translation trap, learning to actually think in English. Ah, yes. The holy grail for many learners, the message from the sources is really clear on this. Stop translating in your head. Just stop. Try to form the thoughts directly in English.
And they explain why, right? Translating acts like this slow middleman. You have the thought in your native language, it goes through this conversion process, and then it comes out in English.
And that middle step, that conversion process, is the single biggest killer of speed and naturalness. It's incredibly draining mentally.
How so? Because when you rely on translation, you're basically doing three things at once. One, forming the idea in language A. Two, trying to map the words and, crucially, the sentence structure onto language B, English, which often leads to weird, unnatural phrasing because languages structure things differently.
Yeah, direct translations often sound odd. Exactly. And three, you're trying to monitor your own output to make sure it sounds okay. That triple mental juggling act, it's exhausting. You just can't keep it up at the speed of a normal conversation. So thinking directly cuts out that middleman.
Completely. It eliminates that time lag. You build a direct link in your brain between the thing, the idea, the feeling, and the English word or phrase for it.
Yep.
So when you feel annoyed, you just think annoyed. You don't think your word for annoyed and then translate it to annoyed.
It's like building a separate English operating system in your head.
That's a perfect analogy, yes. Okay, but how? That sounds great, but it feels really hard to just switch off the translation habit. Our brains love that native language comfort zone. What are the actual practical steps someone can take to start doing this, to bypass that filter?
It definitely takes conscious effort, especially at first. The practical advice really centers on forcing your internal monologue, your inner voice, to switch to English, even for simple things.
Like what?
Start really small and functional. First, labeling. Just spend, say, 5 minutes a day looking around your room or office and mentally naming everything you see in English without translating. Table, chair, laptop, window.
Okay, simple labeling.
Second, functional thinking. When you're about to do a simple task, think through the steps in basic English. Okay, I need to make coffee. Get the mug, put coffee in mug, add hot water. Narrate the simple actions internally.
Building that functional layer.
Exactly. And third, maybe a bit more advanced, start narrating your day or your feelings internally in English. Okay, I feel tired now, I'm gonna take a break. Or, that meeting was interesting. Even if the grammar isn't perfect initially, the key is you're building those direct connections between thoughts and English words. The goal is to free up all that brain power that's currently wasted on translating so you can use it for more important things, like choosing better words or structuring your ideas more clearly. It feels weird at first, definitely uncomfortable, but it is absolutely the fastest path to sounding and feeling fluent.
All right, so we've got the sound right, we shifted the thinking. Now we need to put it all into practice consistently. This brings us to what we're calling the immersion quadrant. The 4 key skills you need to be using daily.
The application phase, yes. And we start with listening skills. The sources basically say, you need a constant soundtrack of English. Listen to native speakers every single day. Podcasts, movies, TV, news, conversations, whatever you can get. Non-negotiable, really.
But let's go beyond just listen more. The purpose isn't just to understand the content, right? It links back to section 1, absorbing the pronunciation, the rhythm, the connected speech.
Yeah.
And also just getting your ear used to the sheer speed of real, authentic speech.
Yeah, daily exposure does something really important. It turns what might seem like passive listening into active calibration for your brain. Our hearing system is incredibly adaptive, but it needs consistent input. If you only listen now and then, your ear just never develops the ability to process spoken English quickly and efficiently. And it's probably useful to think about 2 types of daily listening. There's passive listening, having a podcast on in the background while you're cooking, or
Background noise, basically.
Yeah, but it's useful background noise. It keeps your ear tuned into the general rhythm, the melody, the intonation patterns of English. It's good for just soaking it in. But then you also need focused, intensive listening. This is where you really pay attention. Maybe you listen to a short clip, you pause it, maybe even try to write down what you heard. You specifically listen for where words link together, where sounds were dropped, where the stress fell.
Active analysis.
Exactly. That's where you really dissect the sound patterns.
Now, the sources suggest that even if you're listening daily and you only understand, say, 70 or 80%, that's still really valuable.
Yeah.
How does that work? How does your brain benefit from hearing stuff it doesn't fully get?
It's all about data collection for pattern recognition. Your brain is amazing at finding patterns, even if the data isn't perfect or complete. So when you listen every day, even with imperfect understanding, you're feeding your brain the raw material it needs to start figuring out how English speech is segmented. It learns to recognize common sound combinations, typical sentence melodies, where pauses are likely to occur. If you only listen for words you already know, you miss the bigger picture, the flow. But by just consistently bathing your ears in native speech at its natural speed, you train your brain's prediction engine. You start to anticipate what kind of phrase might come next or where the main stress in a sentence will probably land. That constant daily input is like fuel for your internal language model. Without it, the model just doesn't have fuel for the model. Okay, so from taking it all in, we move to next one. Speaking. Practicing for real life situations. Crucial element. Yeah. The advice is speak English regularly. Find language partners if you can join conversation groups. Also, this is really important. Practice talking to yourself.
Yes.
The power of self-talk.
Use that internal monologue we talked about, but also maybe actually speak out loud. And the key detail here is to practice real-life situations. Don't just debate philosophy. Practice ordering coffee, asking for directions, making small talk.
That idea of the low-stakes arena, practicing by yourself, is just incredibly powerful. We mentioned earlier how fear of mistakes is maybe the biggest fluency killer, right?
Yeah, it freezes you up.
Well, talking to yourself completely removes that pressure. There's no one there to judge you. It lets you rehearse those new phrases, those grammar structures you're trying to make automatic without any fear. It's like a dress rehearsal for the real world.
So how do you make that self-practice actually useful, not just rambling?
Structure is key. Don't just talk randomly. Give yourself specific scenarios. Like, okay, for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to describe my commute home in as much detail as possible, focusing on using connecting words and vivid adjectives.
Oh.
Or spend 10 minutes pretending you're in a job interview, answering common questions. Or rehearse a difficult conversation you know you need to have later. Make it targeted.
And why is focusing on those real-life, sort of transactional, everyday situations so much more vital than, say, practicing discussing abstract ideas?
Because fluency ultimately is judged by how well you perform in those necessary everyday moments. Rehearsing how to order food primes your brain with the exact vocabulary you'll need, like, could I get A, I'll have, B, ow, does this contain nuts? And gets you used to the rhythm of that kind of interaction.
Right, the practical stuff.
Exactly. Fluency isn't really about knowing super obscure philosophical terms. It's about navigating common situations smoothly and effortlessly. You have to train specifically for the situations you'll actually encounter. Practice for the game you're going to play.
Okay, training for the actual game. That makes sense. Now let's bring structure to our input, but this time through reading. Reading comprehension. Learning from the page.
Visual input, yeah.
This means basically read English stuff regularly. Books, news articles, blogs, short stories, whatever matches your level and interests.
Consistent reading?
And the goal seems to be threefold. One, obviously, pick up more vocabulary, linking back to section 2. 2, see all that vocabulary and grammar used in context. And 3, and this seems really important, absorb more complex ways of structuring sentences and ideas that you might not hear in casual chat.
Yes, reading provides a type of input that's hard to get just from listening. Spoken language, especially casual conversation, tends to use simpler sentence structures.
Right.
Reading exposes you to how native speakers build complex arguments, tell detailed stories, use more formal language, connect ideas across paragraphs. It's the best place to learn sophisticated sentence structures, a wider range of vocabulary, and different writing styles. And learners should read actively, not just passively. Don't just read for the main idea. Pick something specific to look for. For instance, read an article and highlight every single time the passive voice is used. Then ask yourself, why did the writer choose passive here instead of active?
So analyzing how it's written, not just what it says.
Exactly. That kind of intensive, focused reading gives you templates. It shows you how to use complex grammar correctly and effectively, which you can then borrow for your own speaking and writing. It's about noticing the patterns in the language.
Noticing the patterns.
Okay.
Reading fills in gaps that listening might miss.
Precisely. Listening is fast, it flows past you. Reading lets you pause, go back, really analyze a tricky sentence, break it down. That ability to dissect structure is what helps you move beyond simple sentences yourself. And that ability to structure thoughts clearly leads us straight to the final skill in the quadrant. Writing practice. This seems to be about consolidating everything. Solidifying knowledge, yes. The action is simple. Write every day if possible. Keep a journal in English, write emails or messages, summarize articles you've read, maybe try short essays. Regular output. And the benefit, according to the sources, is huge. It improves how you structure your thoughts, makes your communication clearer, and builds overall confidence.
Absolutely. Writing forces a kind of discipline on your thinking that speaking often doesn't. When you speak, especially informally, thoughts can be a bit jumbled, sentences might trail off.
Yeah, we jump around. Exactly. But when you write, you have to slow down. You have to organize your ideas logically, connect them clearly, make sure your point comes across. You build a mental habit of structured thinking, and that carries over directly into making your spoken English clearer and more organized too. Writing is like slow motion, deliberate practice for complex speaking. And furthermore, writing makes you consciously engage with that automatic grammar function we talked about. You have to actively choose the right tense, the right sentence structure, the right conjunctions to link clauses. You can see your mistakes on the page.
You have to confront the grammar.
You have to confront it. It forces you to apply the rules deliberately and get them right. This process of consciously using the grammar and structure helps solidify that knowledge much more effectively than just speaking, where errors might slip by unnoticed or uncorrected. Writing is where your analytical understanding meets your developing automatic skills, and it refines the whole system.
Okay, fantastic. We've covered the technical sound stuff, the crucial ways to shift your thinking, and the 4 pillars of daily practice: listening, speaking, reading, writing.
The whole toolkit.
Right, but there's one final piece, or maybe 2 pieces that work together. The psychological side, the mindset you need.
The engine oil, maybe? Yeah. The engine oil holds it all together. This is the combined pathway of confidence and consistency. Let's tackle confidence first. The main message here seems simple, but maybe really hard to actually do. Don't fear mistakes. Simple to say, incredibly hard to internalize for many people. But it's absolutely fundamental. This is like the emotional intelligence part of learning a language. What's really key here is completely reframing how you think about errors. Mistakes aren't failures. They aren't something to be ashamed of. Linguistically, psychologically, they are essential. They're feedback.
Feedback, how so?
An error is basically a little signal flare. It tells you precisely where your understanding, your internal model of English, is still incomplete or inaccurate. It's pure data pointing you towards what you need to work on next.
A mistake is a gift, really.
Okay, thinking of mistakes as data points. Exactly. Because the fear of making mistakes, that's absolutely crippling for fluency. If you're scared of getting something wrong, what do? You play it safe.
You stick to the simple stuff you know.
Right. You use basic words, simple grammar you're 100% sure about. And by doing that, you stop yourself from even trying the new, more complex language you're actually trying to learn and automate. The fear literally freezes that automatic function we want to build.
And that becomes a cycle.
Yeah.
You fear mistakes, so you don't try complex things, so you don't improve, which just reinforces your fear that you're not good enough.
It's a classic vicious cycle. Confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about having the courage to try, even when you know you might not be perfect. It's the prerequisite for actually applying what you learn. So the advice is really psychological. Let go of needing to be perfect right now. Embrace the messiness. Use the errors as signposts. Have the confidence to experiment, knowing that mistakes are just part of the process guiding you. And think back to section 2 again. If your brain is already overloaded trying to translate or consciously apply grammar rules, and then you add a layer of anxiety about messing up in front of people.
You need a total shutdown.
Exactly. Anxiety just kills the cognitive processes needed for fluent speech. The sources strongly suggest that someone with high confidence, even if their technical skills are only okay, will often perform better in real conversation than someone with amazing skills but zero confidence. Because confidence keeps the communication channel open. Okay, confidence is key to unlocking application. Got it. Now, the second part of this mindset piece fits perfectly. Consistency, the long game.
Yeah. You could be the most confident learner in the world, but if you don't actually do the work regularly, nothing sticks, right? Yeah. So, consistent practice is vital.
The material is clear. It's not about occasional heroic study marathons like cramming for 10 hours once a month. That doesn't work for fluency. No, bursts aren't effective long term.
It's about the small, manageable, daily actions. Consistent input, consistent output, building momentum over time.
It's basically applying the principle of compound interest to language learning. Small, regular deposits yield huge returns over time. Consistency makes sure that all those things we talked about, the daily listening, reading, speaking, writing, are constantly reinforcing each other.
Reinforcing the technical skills and the thinking shifts.
Exactly. Language learning is happening in your brain neurologically. You're building new pathways. But those pathways, especially for new words or grammar, decay really quickly if you don't use them.
Use it or lose it.
Pretty much. Consistent practice, even if it's just 15 or 30 minutes every day, taps into how memory works, things like spaced repetition. It keeps those connections strong between the idea and the English word, reinforcing the neural pathways.
So what happens if someone's quite consistent, but then they take, say, a week off for vacation? Does everything just vanish?
Not usually vanish completely, no. Stalling for a week is generally recoverable. But the bigger problem is the loss of momentum.
Ah, momentum.
Yeah. When you break the consistency, a few things happen. Your retrieval speed for those recently learned phrases might slow down a bit. Your ear might become slightly less tuned to connected speech patterns. And crucially, your brain might start defaulting back to the easier, more established mental pathway.
Which for many people is.
That internal translation trap we're trying so hard to escape. Consistency keeps the English operating system running smoothly as the default. And this brings up a really important final point about why the sources group confidence and consistency together. It's because they feed each other. Well, if you're not consistent, if you're not putting in that daily effort and seeing those small improvements, your confidence starts to drop. You think, oh, this isn't working.
You don't see the progress. And conversely, if you lack confidence, you're probably not going to be very consistent, especially with speaking practice, because you're afraid to try. So the whole system breaks down. You need both. The belief that you can do it, confidence, and the daily commitment to actually doing it, consistency, to keep the momentum going. And conversely, if you lack confidence, you're probably not going to be very consistent, especially with speaking practice, because you're afraid to try. So the whole system breaks down. You need both.
Hashtag tag outro. Wow, okay. That was genuinely a deep dive. We've covered a really comprehensive 10 pathway strategy for getting to real English fluency.
Full roadmap. Yeah, the full roadmap. And the focus consistently wasn't just on cramming more words, but on how to use the language naturally, understanding the power of phrases, getting the sound and flow right, and crucially, reprogramming your brain to think directly in English. So just to quickly run through them again for everyone, we started with the sound clarity over perfection using stress and rhythm and mastering connected speech. Then the cognitive shifts, learning phrases, making grammar automatic, and ditching the translation habit.
Then the daily actions, the immersion quadrant. Constant listening, real-life speaking practice, reading for structure, and writing for clarity. The 4 skills. And finally, the mindset glue holding it all together. Building confidence by embracing mistakes as data and locking it all in with consistent daily practice. It's the complete package, really. Designed, as you said, to shift you from slow, conscious effort to fast, unconscious competence. That's the goal.
Automaticity.
Automaticity.
Yeah.
But remember, just knowing the strategy isn't enough. The power comes when it becomes automatic for you. So maybe let me leave you, the listener, with one final thought to chew on. Something that pulls all these threads together. If we agree that real fluency means being able to get your thoughts out automatically without that detour through your native language, then think about this. Which one of these 10 pathways we discussed today do you personally feel is the very first, biggest hurdle you need to get over right now to stop that internal translation?
Ooh, good question.
Is it forcing yourself to learn and actually drill phrases instead of single words? Is it committing to daily listening to really tune your ear? Or is it maybe just finding the confidence to start narrating your own day inside your head in English, even if it feels clumsy at first? Identifying that first bottleneck for you that tells you exactly where you need to put your energy tomorrow to unlock that next level.